Moab is a really interesting area. It's Paul Bruce asked me a while back, if I had any cool place I go all the time. And yes, Moab is one of them. And yeah, everybody knows about Arches National Park, and they know about maybe Canyonlands and a few other of the parks in Utah. But the Moab area is really, really fascinating, especially if you're an outdoors person. So I suggested Moab and he agreed. And I realized that some of my photography in Moab is lacking to some degree. It's funny, there's a lot to shoot, but I've been there for maybe 12 years. And it's just kind of like going around Dayton, yeah, well, okay. But what you'll find is the same kinds of features, in fact, maybe amplified outside of Arches and outside of Canyonlands. Yeah, it looks the same, but so I think I'm going to do, as I go through the pictures and some of my presentation, I want to tell you about a few of the pictures and a few ancillary or anecdotal stories about what all occurred. So if you can bear with me, this picture did pretty well at tripod, so I thought I'd lead with that. And this is the Colorado River. And the Colorado River runs right through Moab, virtually right through, but a little bit north of the town itself. And the whole Moab Valley is the canyons of the Colorado and the ancient canyons of the Green River that changed and shifted through time and now does not flow, but it goes through the other way. So you have basically a double valley or a canyonland and a valley that makes Moab unique. So with that in mind, and we're going to talk about where this picture was taken, and I'm going to try to talk about that because it's hard to miss the photograph along this area. So first of all, where is Moab? Well, it's in Utah, and it's not the mother of all bombs. So it's a city. It's named, kind of had a funny naming process, and I don't want to go through it, but the Mormons had a lot to do with the forming of Moab, but it's not such a Moab or a Mormon area, so don't worry about that. But Utah is Utah, and everybody who's been there knows what we're talking about. So Moab's kind of dead center right near the Colorado border, and it's fairly easy to get to. And here's some of the facts. Oh, and interrupt me if anybody has anything to say. But first of all, Moab, because of the double valley concept, is perfect for all sorts of outdoor adventures. It's the most outdoor area I've ever been to in my life. I mentioned about the Colorado River, but the red rock formations and what they call the slick rock and the canyonlands and the canyons, it's unbelievable. So there's two big national parks. You've all either heard about it or you've been there, I'm sure. Arches and Canyonlands. And I will talk maybe just briefly about Canyonlands, and it's also the state park there, Dead Horse Point, is probably almost better, in my opinion, than going up to the north part of Canyonlands. So Dead Horse Point State Park is really a positive, and it's on the way to Canyonlands, so you can kind of do it at once. Now, if you're really into the area, Bears Ears, the newer National Recreation Area, is open. I have not been down there, but I've been in parts of it, and it's pretty interesting, but only with a Jeep. And then Monument Valley's not too far away, and also you can get down to Page, Arizona for the Slot Canyons. Moab, I said the perfect weather for 10 months of the year. However, sometimes it gets hot and sometimes it gets rainy, but it is pretty much perfect for us Ohioans. So if you want to get there, there's several airports, and Bob earlier was talking, you can fly into Moab now. So, whoops, you can't see me pointing. So Moab has an airport. There's some small flights. I think I heard him say American Airlines flies in there. You can also fly to Salt Lake City, and there's, oh, yeah, you can see the distances. And a lot of people go do Denver. Some have done Grand Junction, and I'm not sure you'd ever fly into Telluride or Silverton or that area. But the moral of the story is Moab is not hard to get to. It's, you got to want to get there, though. Anybody have questions on this one? Okay, I'll start with just a couple pictures of Moab, kind of, whoops, sorry. Some of the landscape. So this is kind of what you see in the Moab area. And I go into the details of the different directions, but you see these monuments that are, they're basically weathered from the core geology that gives you these almost Monument Valley stuff, but much more dramatic. The one on the left picture is actually Fisher Towers. And well, I like it. It's a great name. And so, but the right one is on your way up to Canyonlands National Park and Dead Horse, the one on the upper right. And they also have these magnificent valleys. And what you see is that the valley off of Dead Horse Point, virtually down into the draw that goes to Moab. So it gives you an idea what you're talking about. You have high elevations, you have wonderful formations, and great valleys. So some more facts. I think you always like facts. You know, you guys are fact kind of people. So the elevation is roughly 4,000 feet down in the valley. But as you go up out of Moab, it rises very quickly to about 6,000 feet. So, you know, you're talking a mile high stuff. And Dead Horse Point is over a mile, 5,900 feet. And if you want to stay there, I didn't even bother to try to give you any guidance. There are literally hundreds and hundreds of motels, hotels, and bed and breakfasts. Now, if you like dude ranches, there are really some pretty cool ones out on Highway 128, which goes out east out of the Colorado toward Colorado River toward Colorado. And lots of campgrounds and BLM land where you can camp on. Another cool fact is there's been many movies. I mean, all kinds of movies have been filmed there. And there's the list of them, but The Lone Ranger, Hulk, Indiana Jones, Last Crusade, Thelma and Louise, which is a famous place where they went off, and The Greatest Story Ever Told. I mean, but there's more. There's also one of the dude ranches out there. What is it, the Red Rock?
Something like that.
The Red Rock Inn, I think, has a kind of a little mini museum of the movies. So if you really want to get into it, movies. So a lot of work, I use the word world class, but I really believe this. There's things to do there. We go pretty much to Jeep. And the Jeeping is, whoa, known throughout the world. However, there's also some really great other off-road activities and ATV trails. You can also climb cliffs and other rock climbing, which a lot of people do. And the mountain biking, Barb and I started mountain biking there, God, I don't know how many years ago, and it was unbelievable mountain biking. Unfortunately, I need one of those motorized mountain bikes now so we don't, Jeep works, but there's really good hiking, and the Colorado provides long-term rafting, and you can, if you want to dive out of an airplane, it's great weather, just jump and go. And of course, camping. So there's more things to do there. I mean, how can you miss a helicopter ride over the Arches National Park, kind of around the edge, and the rest of it? If you really want to zip line, plenty of zip lines. And I put down Jeep adventures because you can do it yourself, or they actually have people who will drive you on some of the really hairy roads, and they come back. So that could be pretty fun. There's also a dinosaur park north of town, complete with fake dinos. but there's also some great places. In fact, we see it a lot on our Jeep trails, some dino tracks. Yeah, that's kind of fun. I'll show you a picture later on. And this place here on the picture on the right, the hole in the rock, is just a really, really almost hysterical. If you can see the top of the rock, assume there's another 300 or 400 feet going up. There's a Jeep up there. God knows how it ever got there, but it's up there. And then at the same time, this house is built into the rock. So they made this tourist souvenir shop, kitschy kind of thing, and it's just a lot of fun. It's worth
Good photography.
it's good photography. It's worth stopping and kind of having a shout. It's good. So, because I Jeep there, I got to show you Jeep pictures. But this is the kind of stuff. The left picture, that's the background you get to on some of the Jeep trails. I will point out, I'm going to talk about this road on the left later. It is kind of doable in a high clearance car, so it's possible. The other on the lower right, yeah, not so much. And through the years, you can see all the rubber that's put out for the Jeep track to go up over the top of these ridges. But Sarah,
It's steeper than it looks.
yeah, when you see this picture, you cannot see anything other than your hood going up. It is that steep. So just pointing it out, we really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. And just went there. When did we go? In September. Yeah, we were there in September. Yeah. By the way, in September I'm talking about all this cool stuff. It really was not as cool because the fires in California, the smoke was really, really bad. So we had problem
In Colorado.
seeing, kind of the sites. For example, we're talking about, there's mountains there. There's the LaSalle Mountains. That's them on the top. There were some times there, a week and a half we were there, you couldn't even see those mountains. And when you're in the mountains, for example, the lower right picture, you couldn't even see the valley. So it's kind of disappointing. Disappointing for the fires, disappointing for us. So, but if you're there and it's nice, look at this. I mean, this is just fantastic mountain stuff. The aspens just went wild. So if you're out there at the right season, it's really cool. Again, if you have any questions, jump in. And if anybody's still out there, that'll be cool. So you probably want to know when to go. I would highly recommend February through June. And the reason I say that is that's definitely the cooler time, and in some ways probably the driest time. When you go out late September through November, it's good, but we have had rain, and actually once in October we had snow out there. No, I mean, never stuck, but when you go up to the high desert, we actually had snow, and it was pretty interesting. And if you go in the winter, it is apparently a really, really great place to go. But you will get snow, and it does get cold. Somebody mentioned earlier, it was still in like the 20s, 25s out there now. And that was the case 2 or 3 weeks ago. So, if you go out this time of the year, late, in winter, wear your woolies. However, July and August, no woolies required. It is hot. Very hot. You're running 105 or more. But it's dry heat. You can go in the shade, but it's hot. And we have been there in the rain, and you can see this picture on the right. It actually was after a rain. That's why I put it in there. That is Arches National Park, which I was trying to not do, but it's a picture of Arches, and it gives you an idea what happens when it rains. It feels, and it's really pretty fun for reflections and those kind of photographs. But also you can get flash flooding, so you don't want to be in a slot canyon or whatever when it's going on. So we have seen massive. One year it flooded our campsite, and it was pretty impressive, but of course it goes away. The river takes it away. Okay, if you were to go out there, I thought the best case would be a 3-day itinerary. I think it's a little short, but you could do 3 days. And what I would do, first of all, Arches National Park is very, very, very popular. I have seen lines into Arches National Park of over an hour. So the first thing you want to do if you're in the real tourist season is to make sure you go very early. But also the cool thing about going very early is you get the best light. So by going early, you kind of avoid a lot of the crowd. Even if you have an old geezer pass, which we have, you
You have.
I
I don't have.
I
it.
have. If you have the old geezer pass, you still get in line. It doesn't make any difference. So you will be in line if you go at the wrong time. However, once you're in, you can stay, all day and enjoy it because there's a lot of things you could do all day. But generally, most people spend about a half a day. And if it's in the hot season, that's about all you want because it's going to get hot and you want to go into town. In the afternoon, the sun in Canyonlands and Dead Horse State Park is pretty good. And you get some nice definition in the canyons. And because Dead Horse State Park, you get high and you look down on the river. And it really is an interesting view. You saw that one view I had earlier, but you get the good light and it starts to define the canyon, which is what you want. So that's what I would suggest on day one, because that's pretty much all day. The next day is kind of a funny day. I've mentioned Highway 128 that goes east out of town is fantastic. It goes up the Colorado and the canyon is just gorgeous. And then it goes up into some almost plateaus where that's where those dude ranches are, and it just mellows out. And then you come up to Fisher Towers and a few of the other towers, and they're really cool. And there are some roads you can take off of that, taking you up toward the LaSalle Mountains. There's one paved road, which is, if you don't have a Jeep, I would suggest. You can go then up to the LaSalles and go around the LaSalles. And so you'll have mountain, canyon, desert. And I think it'd be really a great photo day. And but it would be all day for sure. However, if you don't do that in the afternoon, that picture that I led in with is a picture taken on what they call Potash Road. It's called Potash Road because at the end of the road, there's a potash mine. And it follows the Colorado for 7 miles. I'll show you this in a second. Out of town. And it really is cool. There's also a cool road across the river. I forgot the name of it, but it also follows the Colorado for a while, then goes up to a high peak or a pass, and then down through some pretty jeepy, scary twists. But it's another possibility. So you got all kinds of cool stuff on the Colorado that way. But the sun in the afternoon is pretty good along there. Now you hit the potash mine, and if you keep going, it turns into gravel dirt, whatever. Non-paved, I think is the word to use. And you can do okay without a Jeep and without high clearance, but you'll get to a boat ramp finally, or a boat launch area where they put in the rafts. And maybe there, if you got something that's a little iffy for a car, I would turn around. But you can take that road all the way to Canyonlands National Park. And you'll go up, and we'll talk about it, but you'll go up the Schaefer switchbacks. Barb's absolute favorite Jeep trail.
He's lying.
Oh, yeah. Well, sorry. Anybody there? Phil? Say hi,
Still
John.
here.
Jeff, you have 21 people in your audience.
Well, that's good. I hope everybody's awake. No, that's good. I just,
Well, can I just say, if anyone wants to ask Jeff a question, they can unmute themselves and just shout out the question, right, Jeff?
yes, absolutely. So since nobody shouted out, so day 3, what I consider, if you've done the first 2 and you didn't do, say, LaSalle, you could catch and do LaSalle in the morning, or you could do one of those Jeep experience trails with an experienced Jeep driver. You could rent a Jeep, cool. And if you're doing anything, you need to have lunch at Milt's
Drive-In.
something or other, but it's a small old school drive-in, not drive-in, walk up, eat in, hamburger, milkshake joint. It's absolutely phenomenal. Milt's, remember Milt's.
And get the peach milkshake because it's the best.
So I mentioned all these are full days, but that's why I think really 3 days, you're packing it in. So think about that. By the way, the picture on the right, yes, that's Arches again. It's there. It's cool. Okay, photography. Hey, that's why you're here. There's great potential anywhere. These formations are unearthly. They're so cool. And you know, I mentioned Arches, but all along the river, the Potash Road, the other way on 128. And there are many arches that you've seen some Gary's pictures. They're not all in the park. So if you're really into arches, they're kind of out there too, if you want to hike to them or whatever. I think the LaSalle Mountains is a sleeper that nobody thinks about when they're there, but the mountains have all kinds of, like the aspens in the spring are gorgeous. In the winter, they're just, or fall, they're wonderful. If it's really hot in the valley, by the way, you can go up to up to the LaSalle's, and it'll be 30 degrees at least difference in temperature. So if you're 90 degrees in the valley, 70 degrees or 60. So there are the highways, Potash Road to the west, 128 to the east. You can take the roads to Dead Horse Point and Canyonlands. There's a lot of formations off those roads. Now, if you go north, the problem out of there, if you pass Arches, is the formations are wonderful, like you see here in this picture on the right, but you really need a Jeep to get to them. It really is all desert, a lot of sand, a lot of Jeep trail stuff. It's very hard for a regular car to do that. And I will talk the last point here, Canyonlands. There is an arch there. I truly, and you guys can help me out. There's an arch there that everybody wants to take a picture of. Barb and I drove up there, I think our second or third trip to Moab. We got there at dark 30. And there was no parking anywhere. It was wall to wall photographers. I've never seen anything like it in my life. And I've been to press events. I've done all kinds of stuff. I've never seen that. So if you whatever that arch is, if you want it, you better be there before dark 30. So you won't see any pictures from me, but you can get them in Wikipedia for sure. Okay, a couple cool things here. If I could really show you, but I can't, but I'll try to describe it. The roads I've been talking about is the road 128 to the east. That's that yellow road. And if you see Fisher Tower is up there, Castle Valley, and it takes you right up to the LaSalle National Park, which is the mountains. That's cool. I would drive almost all the way to Conway and then come back. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous drive.
Who named Fisher Tower?
Yeah, it wasn't me, unfortunately. I guess they knew I was coming. I don't know. And so the yellow is really, really well worth it. I wouldn't go all the way. You could come in that way if you're driving, say, from Denver or Grand Junction. The other way that I have talked about is this potash. That's the blue road. And if you look, you can see the blue road kind of ends and then keeps going. Well, you can do that. And you cross down the bottom of, in fact, Dead Horse Point's above you. And then you go up what they call the Schaefer switchbacks, and you end up at Canyonlands. And by the way, you don't have to pay if you go that way, but that's not necessarily the way I'd go. But so that's a cool, the Potash Road is absolutely spectacular. The other road that really gives you some options is the Green Road, which takes you to Canyonlands and to Dead Horse, and it's really pretty nice. So, but I would highly, blue, yellow, absolutely fantastic. And just near Castle Valley that you see off the yellow road, that road up through Castle Valley is really, really, really nice. And that one's paved. So the one past Fisher Towers is my favorite, actually, Jeep trail. It's called Onion Creek. I think you can barely read it. But Onion Creek is, you cross this kind of sulfury streams 34 to more times. It's they're little tiny water crossings, but it's just a riot, and it's cool. So here's some scenes from the Potash Road. I mentioned that's that blue road I just showed you. The upper left, that's the road. It's really a nice road. It's very good biking. Barb and I have ridden our bikes along there. It's just fantastic. The cliffs to the cliffs are a lot of climbing goes on, rock climbing. And the road is just to the left of those bushes is the river. So you got it all. The upper shot, the middle shot is essentially the Colorado from one of the high spots on that road past the potash mine. Upper right, that's one of the mega structures that's up there in Dead Horse Point. And it's just really cool when you're down below and you look up to it. I'm not going to go over them all, but the right-hand picture, that's again Barb's favorite, Absolute Road.
I have to interject here. He's lying. I hate that trail. And when we drive it, I keep my head buried the entire way.
35 switchbacks. If you meet somebody coming and you're in the upper going up, you and he have to negotiate the drop off. So just, something to think about.
But you could drive a regular car on it.
All right. So this is the north of Moab, higher elevations. All of this, or virtually all of these pictures, you have to get there in a Jeep. I gotta say sorry if you don't have one, but it's all the picture on the upper left. That's what they call the Slick Rock, and that is just an incredible pillow of interesting formations of rock. It forms these cracks, and it just really just driving on it's phenomenal. You can see in the middle picture how much desert we have. We have a lot of sand up there, a lot of sand. And by the way, that's a cool play. We found that and picnic there just this last year. And the upper right is kind of that slick rock. You can see how it works. It's layered and it comes down. It's actually sandstone, but it's more of a sand, not sandstone, but it's more of a sand, petrified sand almost. It's how it flows. So, and then some of the other pictures, my older Jeep in front of one of the cool formations. I forgot the name of it, but it's out there. I flew my drone up over it once. And the lower middle picture again is looking over the slick rock down to the sandy levels. Then you can kind of see some of the sand road height, and then you get up onto the slick rock. Picture on the right is not in Arches, but it's just outside of Arches. So it's kind of an Arches formation outside of the park. How we doing, people? You dead yet?
They're good.
You're good. Okay. So, okay, I mentioned that Onion Creek, and it turns out to be that the upper left, upper right picture is all upper Onion Creek. And you can drive a car up Onion Creek. I don't see any problem. It's a little bit iffy to some degree, but not shouldn't be bad. You are going across river crossings. Highly recommend you don't speed through them. You don't want to do it in a Jeep either. So, but that's what you're seeing is that kind of rock formations, and it's just incredible to how that rock is formed. And then the lower left picture is actually the bike trail that runs down the Colorado off 128. Doesn't go terribly far, but it's really a nice trail. And you can actually take it from all the way from Arches National Park on down there. So it's a really nice bike trail. And again, the formation on the right, I forgot what it's called because there's so many but that's off of that same upper road. It's a paved road. So it's probably on the road on Castle Valley. I can't remember. So that's kind of what you can see out there. So these are random photos. I just thought it was just to give you an idea what's going on out there. The upper right picture is one of those dinosaur tracks that you can find. There's quite a few of them. So, and I'm going to use the word all around. So it's not like it's unusual. It was kind of really neat to see them. There's one where it's set up in the just in Arches National Park on a Jeep trail where they actually walked, I don't know, 400 yards maybe. That was pretty fun. So to give you an idea, the middle picture is an arch, small arch, but that's off Potash Road. And this is the kind of formations in the upper left that you can see that you can just find randomly out there, and it's pretty cool. There are bighorn sheep out there well, they're out there.
They're
And
elusive.
And we've run into them several times. It's kind of fun. It's you're never sure, and suddenly they'll appear. But I've never seen the big ones. These are all small ones and young ones. And well, the rest of it's just trees and things. Okay, well, we're kind of winding down. I hope I didn't bore you too much. This is, I thought I would just end. This is Arches National Park, but it's Arches. You can almost see the whole park. And it's after the rain. The light is just impeccable. And it just makes you feel good to take a picture like this. And I think this represents Moab. I don't want to have arches hanging over my head, but frankly, this you could get anywhere, but this is the perfect day, perfect place. I mean, I'm not going to use the word perfect photo, but there's a whole lot you can't see in here that's not arches. So we will move to questions and comments.